What in the actual fuck?
You must practice. Listen to me. You must practice. You must practice.
You, sir, are a shit pilot.
You're shit pilot.
And what the?
Yes, you're shit. You need to practice.
Calm down, bitch.
You're shit.
Are you a shit pilot?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a shit pilot for sure. But you are too.
Yeah, I'm a shit pilot.
I have never seen that in my entire life.
You are a shit pilot.
No!
What in the actual fuck?
You must practice.
We're live.
Hey, we're live. What's up? We're here. Welcome to FPV Spill the Tea with our boys from 533. We got Evan and Armando with us. And as always, your hosts, Mr. Limon, Mr. NBA, and I'm here too.
And don't forget to mention that we're always promoting your OnlyFans page. So
that's right. My OnlyFans page. Check it out. Grower does it twice.
I'm surprised you didn't go with grower, not a shower.
Yeah. So it's grower, not a shower. I was Mr. Nice does it twice for a while. Then I kind of got like some people were looking for grower, so we just keep changing it up. It's all about fan engagement.
There you go.
Yeah, so in case someone doesn't know, I guess most of people knows that, but if in case someone doesn't know, so fly533.com is like a website where Mr. Evan and Mr. Armando and a few other guys, they're selling FPV drone gear, mostly drone racing gear, but they have freestyle frames, and Mr. Evan is like a very young entrepreneur, and a lot of people are jealous of his success, but that's what it is, right? And so that's why we invited them today, because they're quite prominent figures in FPV, in drone racing, and also doing their store. And we have a bunch of questions, some of them spicy, some of them are not. And feel free to add some questions from the chat. As always, if you leave a super chat, we have a special attention for super chat questions, unless they're too spicy. That's the challenge here, right?
Unless they're too spicy.
So there we go. You want to, Neil? Let's just do a warm up, right? So for warm up, this is like our new thing to do at the beginning. So for the warm up, we're playing this or that game, or Neil likes to call this game "Who Would You Rather Bang?" And so,
it's like an icebreaker. It's like get everybody feeling good.
Right.
Loose.
So we'll just start it off with a real simple one. Would you rather fight one silverback gorilla or a pack of 7 wolves?
I would go. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just I guess fist fight. Just you yourself.
A silverback gorilla. Are those thinking? How heavy is a silverback gorilla?
Oh man, they're probably like
murder you.
Yeah, I think they're 500 or 600 pounds.
500 or 600, and then a pack of wolves like 7.
Yeah.
Do you get them all at once, or is like one at a time?
Well, they're wolves, so they do hunt in packs. So they would attack you in their natural wolf-like ways.
I would go with the. At least I feel like with the gorilla, you could like gouge its eyes or something, and like maybe have a shot. But you could take down one wolf, but the other could get you while you're getting the first one. So I'm gonna go gorilla. I mean, just take my one shot, throw a rock at its eye, and hope I get it.
Yeah.
I feel like you're approaching it in the from the view that you might be able to take one of them. I think I'm approaching it from the view of how would I rather die. And I think I just rather the gorilla kill me.
I just sit on it.
Yeah, man, that's smart.
That's smart because I kind of think you're fucked either way, but
you are.
All right, the next, so you kind of broke the rules, guys. So the rule is you should answer quick, like the first,
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Then you can explain kind of, but just the first thought you're answering. So next one, and remember, this is the game. This is a game, this or that, and the other question, who would you rather bang? So if you answer A, then you select that, and that's what would you rather bang? So, so Chris Ross or Bardwell? Quick, Mr. Evan, quick.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Yeah, I have to politely just skip on this one.
Are we fighting them again? Or
Is this the bang one or the fight one?
Well, you can also think that you're answering like this or that. Like,
What's your preference? Yeah.
What, this or that for what?
for
What's better?
whatever
What's
you
better?
think.
I
For
think
whatever you think.
for fighting.
I'd rather fight Bardwell.
No. I'd rather fight
Chris Rosser's so
I'd
tall.
rather fight Rosser for sure. I think Bardwell's like a ninja.
Yeah,
I think Bardwell has some secret. Like I think he's secretly like he went to like Burning Man and stuff.
What is that, like capoeira? Like he'll start just Brazilian dance fighting or something?
Yeah,
He's,
I think
I could see that.
Bardwell. I'd rather fight Rosser all day, no doubt.
But, all right, but if you have to watch a channel, who would that be?
If I've watched far more Bardwell videos than I have Rosser.
All right. What about you, Mando?
Same.
All right. And then bot grinder or drone cams?
I've only watched like one drone camps video in my life, but I don't think I've ever watched a bot grinder video and not laughed at least once.
Yeah.
And
what about
If we're
same?
talking which one we'd rather watch,
Oh,
I'd say
fine.
Bot Grinder.
Which yeah, I like bot grinder. I like watching it.
This was Neil's idea. IRS or FAA?
Or this could be like this could be one like who would you rather get rid of?
Who would I rather get rid of?
Yeah.
I would say the IRS. I don't know. I feel like the FAA. I mean, that may be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like there has to be a governing body of the sky in some capacity, and like it's gonna. If it's not the FAA, it'd be somebody else. But again, I don't know. Nobody's gonna agree with anything.
Yeah, sure. There's no easy answers. I like it.
Yeah.
Vaughn answered the same way when I asked him.
Freedom Spec or Tiny Trainer?
I say Freedom Spec. But
yeah.
Armando's so good at Tiny Trainer. You're crazy if you don't say that.
I just feel like I've spent so much time with tiny trainers, especially when my wife was travel nursing and we were living in like Airbnbs and stuff, and like it was just so easy to fly a tiny trainer in like backyards, and that's probably the most fun I had. Like designing tracks and just flying in general is just like the crazy stuff we do in like Airbnb backyards.
Analog or HD0?
HD0. Sure.
Yep. All right. And DJI or Walk Snail?
DJI.
So you're a DJI fanboy.
I'm very limited experience with walks now. That's the only reason.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, Neil, I can't read the next one.
Next race, we are going to try to mix walk snail in with analog because I guess it came to our attention that it should work fine with analog just because of the race mode, which I didn't know existed. So
That's what they say.
Well,
Let's try it.
I'm excited to hear about how that goes for sure.
Nice.
All right, boys. Ketchup or ranch?
I would say ranch.
Like, which is our favorite?
I put
or one
ranch
has
on
to
more
go?
things than I put ketchup on.
Yeah, there you go. A little more versatile.
I had a
Wando,
stint with
where you
ranch. I feel like I grew up on ranch. I wouldn't be the man I am today without ranch.
I like it. All right. Are you test the waters or dive in deep?
I'm all for anything. Like let's go. Come on, let's start something. Get the audience engaged.
Yep. Well, that's a dive in deep.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, the last one. I think let's go. Like,
all right.
So
all right. These last two, you can answer them together. They're very important. All right. So it's crunchy or smooth, strawberry or grape. Right.
This
so
is
where's your
important.
peanut butter and jelly sandwich at? Are you a crunchy or smooth peanut butter, strawberry or grape jelly?
Smooth and grape.
Smooth and grape. All right.
I'd have to be on the same for sure, especially growing up.
Yeah.
Smooth and grape for sure.
Smooth and grape.
Best peanut butter and jelly I ever made though wasn't really. It was like Nutella, peanut butter, jelly, fresh raspberries, all between two chocolate chip Eggo waffles.
Oh my!
Wow.
You need to try it.
Were you in college?
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I was. Well, the guy that lived next to me in college actually ran his own like cafe out of his room, Finch's
Nice.
Cafe, and I could just text him what I wanted. He'd make me these sandwiches.
Something I had that I liked recently was a peanut butter and jelly where it's like grilled. So you like you toast the bread and then you do the peanut butter and jelly. It gives like a nice crunch. And like I'd always just had a normal peanut butter and jelly, but like toasting the bread first, it was really good.
I like it. I'm going to have to try that one out. All right. Well, who's the boss at 533?
Exactly.
Julie.
Yeah, my mom, sure.
Yeah.
I would say we have different roles. We have different roles for sure. The Armando obviously does all of the design and a lot of the website design, a lot of the design choices and the frames and motors and all those things. And I would say I'm more overarching, maybe bigger picture direction, we'll call it. But both independently bosses in our own way.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of things I just lean on Evan for design-wise, just because he's so opinionated about a lot of things, like just drone related or performance related, and how he expects something to be. And like, yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to solve different problems, but he wants things a very specific way a lot of the time, and I'm just he helps me just move forward in design.
So Evan kind of already said that a little bit, that he has like an overview picture. So that kind of means you're a boss, Mr. Evan. So I guess the last word in the company is yours, right?
We own the company 50-50. It's literally split right down the middle. So
like with Armando?
Yeah, it's 50-50.
Right.
No other ownership. So at the end of the day, it's split right down the middle. So any decision is just as much mine as is Armando's.
Wow.
All right. So Mr.
like
Heads Up. So we have one person, it could be she, asking if you're single or not.
Nice. I guess this isn't Instagram official, but I'm not single.
Oh,
not single.
My grandpa
all right.
already knows about it. So.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I was talking to your
What's
grandpa the other
official
day
now?
about it.
It's official now. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
He's
Look
looking.
at that,
I'm
Chad.
off
What do you
the
think about
market.
that? Off the
You're
market.
running to red.
whoever it
Is
is.
that like, did the lighting change over there, or?
There we go.
That's cool. Yeah. So, but I gotta say, dear viewers, that Mr. Evan was the hardest to catch for the live stream for whatever reason. Like he's like, for some reason, the busiest man. Like it was way easier even to catch with Bartle for the live stream, where I thought Bartle would be way more occupied. But Evan is like, no, not this week, not this week. Ivan, just don't, and then
He's too fast.
There were a few times he'd end up with jobs.
Yeah. So yeah. I hope your girlfriend can handle that.
Yeah, she's studying abroad in Italy right now, so she's plenty busy.
All right. All right. So so we got that one. So Mr. Evan, let me bring you. Where is that thing? This Mr. Evan. How old you are?
I'm 20.
You're 20, and Mr. Armando, how old you are?
I'm 33.
33. So let me share this a little bit. See my thing? How do I share it bigger? Hold on.
Yeah, I'm like, where's this going?
All right. So Mr. Armando, we kind of figure out that maybe Evan is a little bit more boss, right? Even though you own 50-50, but how does it feel for you?
That's what we figured out.
How does it feel for you to be managed by a teenager?
I'm not a teenager.
Like I've said this many times that if I could choose who I'd go into business with, I'd pick Evan 1,000 times over, just because the way he thinks and the way he makes decisions. He's just so mature for his age. So sometimes when I would tell people that I'm like in business with when you were 18 when we started, or 17?
We started when I was 16. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. 16, and people were like, "What?" I'm like, "Okay," but he's not like 16 in his head, I guess. But yeah, no, he's very mature for his age, and I don't know, he blows me away with a lot of the things he comes up with and just the way he handles most situations.
That's cool. So basically, like, this guy kind of blows you away. That's cool.
Well, he was raised by one of the wisest people I've ever met.
And look at that. He has has ducks already. Look at that.
Yeah, look, that's the four. So like, I'm just this is baby Evan already with some ducks or some really good photoshopping by old Quad Doc, or as he just had a thing for ducks forever.
The duck thing kind of came out of nowhere, and for me at least. But obviously it runs in the bloodline there from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Did you ask Quad Doc for these pictures, or did you go digging for these?
Definitely.
Well, to be honest, we don't disclose our sources.
Oh yeah,
but,
we got fucked up there.
Well, they're on the internet forever now. So.
but really, like, we didn't ask. He just sent it to me all over the sudden.
He's like, "Oh, there's a live stream. I gotta."
Yeah.
You probably have a bunch of Vimeo links too.
Oh man.
Yeah. So we kind of covered that. So how old is Evan? All right. So now to a serious question. This is a very serious question. Why some people claim that 533 is stealing frame designs, and specifically Typhon versus Ultra V2? Let me bring this frame.
Spicy.
That's a funny question now. So Ultra V2 is just a tiny light switch V2, but the light switch V2, that was like the first time we really leaned on our team pilots to make decisions on designing a frame.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly didn't even want to do the lap joint design, which I assume is what they're referring to, because that's the main thing, the arm locking mechanism that is cloned. I don't know. But who was it? Chris M wanted us to use the overlap design, but not because of the Typhon using it, because he tested it previously whenever he was doing like Mad Quads designs and stuff before that, and he said that he tested it a lot and he thinks that we should try it. And then we ended up going with it just because that's what the team pilots wanted.
My thing.
So, but do you see similarities in these two frames?
That Typhon picture is the one I designed.
This one?
That is 533.
Because we released a Typhon on our store just because people asked if we could also carry the Typhon. So it looks very similar then, because even the arm ends I changed and the top plate.
Yeah. So our original Typhon doesn't look that way.
No,
it doesn't.
Right.
It has like the longer arms and it had like the points, but I assume it was just the lap joint design that people were talking about.
My thing,
because even our first light switch had the arm screws going through to the standoffs.
I just want to say that 533. You've never seen 533, no matter the frame or product, make any comments if there's things that are similar or anything like that. My take on it is the industry as a whole is moving forward, and it'll go in different directions, and there will be things that gain popularity, and our priorities as pilots will change. And there will be good ways of doing things, and at the end of the day, like, you're going to support people you want to support, and we're going to try. Our goal at the end of the day is to make the best products possible. And at least 533, my take on it, on products we've made and other people have made over the years, it's everybody's like, we're all trying to make the best product possible, and there's going to be different designs. And like when the Switchback came out 4 years ago, and that design using the wiggle plate and stuff started to become popular, we never said anything. And honestly, I appreciate that and being able to make frame designs better. So I've never really seen it or complained about anybody utilizing different aspects of designs to make their own products better, because at the end of the day, it pushes us all forward and makes all of our lives easier. And at the end of the day, you support whoever you want. I don't care. We're going to keep trying to make the best products we can. And but I understand. People want drama in FPV, and like, I'm all for it. Let's talk about it. But at the end of the day, it's going to push us all forward. And there is no world in which somebody losing is good. Like, we all need to win. Okay. We all need to make better stuff. So bringing anyone down or getting uptight about any of that doesn't help anyone ever. We should all be cheering each other on. And I think that's kind of what 533 has always tried to do, regardless if somebody's copied our exact product. That's
did it happen before?
I'm not the one who has to bring up the examples. They're definitely out there in the world. I would say 533 in the past has influenced the direction of several products and catchphrases and so forth that have turned into brands and whatnot. And that, again, at the end of the day, the industry having more competition, better people coming into it only helps us. And so I'm not here to talk bad about anybody. And I think anybody who tries to say these people clone this people and I hate them and this, that, and the other, they arguably lack perspective that it's not good for the community as a whole. If you care about the community at all, you should only want the best for everyone here.
So like a conclusion that you did not copy Typhoon, right? It's like a different frame.
Like,
I would say the products.
I wholeheartedly believe that. But.
The products were. We took what was necessary. We took team pilot feedback and feedback from the community to make the best product we possibly could, and we took what was readily available in the community and made it better. And
so was it feedback? Feedback was like, "Hey guys, like let's make similar to Typhoon frame." That was the feedback.
The feedback was
we were trying to make a V2 of the light switch V1, or it was just the light switch at the time, and then we asked the pilots like, "Hey, what do you want to see from it?" And then we wanted to make it stiffer, so that's why we added the front and back vertical pieces. But then we asked how we should do the arms. There's a million ways you can lock the arms so they don't wiggle. But then, it was mostly like Chris, and I think I don't remember who, but we had a bunch of team pilots in a like 533 product development chat for that whole thing. Like every choice was made in that chat, and they were like, "Yeah, let's do the overlapping thing." It's a lap joint. I don't know, like.
I mean, when the first cell phone came out with 3 cameras on it, now every phone ever has 3 cameras on it. Did they get cloned? No, they took what they found was good to be good technology, and then they each took their own spin on trying to make their best version of it. So, and that propelled all cell phones forward. That propelled them all forward, and it was good for all of them, and better for everyone who uses a cell phone on the daily. And I think if you look at it from that perspective,
is this the least spicy question?
I mean, I don't care, but I think at the end of the day, if you want better products, people are going to be inspired by other people to make better products, and we encourage that. And yeah, I think it's good for everyone.
Like, how do you like? Well, because it sounds like I'm being a dick, right? I'm just trying to get deeper in the question. So, but that's your job. Yeah, that's my job, right? Because Niels today is a good cop, and Johnny 5 is a good cop too. So like, how do you even you look at the 2 frames? Like, what's the criteria of like figuring out either the clone or it's a different frame? Like, how do we even define that? Like, I don't.
I mean, I guess that's like a broader question you could just ask. Period, right? I mean, it's not.
Yeah, every frame has 4 standoffs and 4 stack screws. Like, is every frame a clone of every frame? I mean, there's really only a few criteria. Like the arm in design that does nothing, the arm interlocking, where the stack mounts, like the color of the standoffs and the type of hardware. Like at the end of the day, we're all going to use the best we possibly can, stylize it in our own way, and then the weight at the end of the day matters. So I guess again, there are certain aspects that are similar between the 2, but adding the stiffeners in the way that we did and them using their doing whatever they want to do is totally fine. And then I would say, especially because the Typhon is open source, is just because we made a Typhon, it's not a clone, it's open source. It's where it gets gray, I guess.
That's a good point too, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. That's my take on it. But at the end of the day, it's literally just trying to make good products, and that's our goal at the end of every day: make better products.
Makes sense. So since we're talking about the frames, why do you think Minchin doesn't sell his frames with the 533? Like, what happened? Was there any drama? Or?
I think Minchan aspires. Drone racing's in a weird spot for him as far as he's trying to figure out his career. And, he's, I guess, about a year younger than myself, and he's trying to turn this into more of a career for him. And a very natural thing for him to do is start a brand. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. So he's just trying to make things happen. And I told him and all of our team pilots from the very beginning, like, I want to support you and, be a part of your success. But if any point you have a better opportunity or want to go do something for yourself, then I absolutely encourage it, because it's a place I was earlier on in my career as well. And I went for it, and, it worked out. So I never will blame anybody from going to chase a better opportunity to get a better deal. Go for it. And that's exactly what Minchan did, and he's trying to make it happen. So good for him.
Oh, well, that's a respectable answer. So we had also a question, since we're talking about the frames, let's just cover all the frames right away. So when the 49er will see the world, like, is it going to be released anytime soon, or like, what's the deal with it?
Armando?
The 49er.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a disagreement. This is a disagreement.
There was a period of time when Evan still, like, after we all already had the Ultra, Evan still felt that the 49er needed to exist, because it was like any freedom spec race you went to, the 49er was just faster. It was insane.
Yep.
Because it was tiny arms, tiny body. But then the first time we were, like, whenever we finally had the Ultra and then we finally had a freedom spec, like, oval race, we saw that the Ultra and 49er were basically the same speed. So then I no longer felt like, okay, I don't really think we need to release this, because it's just because the arch design itself, like any side impact, it just wasn't as strong as just having 4 standouts. We wanted to try it. It looked badass. Is mostly the reason we liked it.
Did you make this frame as sort of a competition for Minchin sub 50 gram frame? Because some people were saying like, oh, like Minchin just made this frame, and then now 533 have to do frame 2 that are like sub Minchin frame grams. Was it true?
Yeah, like our team pilots were like, "Oh, okay, can we have a 50 gram frame?" And I was like, "Okay, we'll give it a try." And then we tried different ways to do it. I don't know, like, yeah,
right.
they wanted one, so we made one.
And so you
got to win. Like, what the hell? We're racers, right? I mean, like,
there's no world where there's no world in any industry where somebody announces a product that better fits their customers' needs, and the competition doesn't try and outdo that. So the amount of flack that was given for us trying to launch a sub 50 gram frame was insane to me, because it's like, we are literally trying to make a product that better suits your needs. And if this is what fits that, then of course we're going to. And us just sitting there and being stagnant is the opposite of what any business with any direction should be doing.
That makes sense. So you said that this light frame is like not super durable, like if you run it on open class or something. But like, do you think Minchin's frame is durable then, with it being the same weight?
None of these sub 50 gram frames are very, like, if you went to Champs, you saw carnage, like so much carnage. But that's not what they're trying to do. Like,
it's not for the everyday
pilot.
pilot
To survive. Like, yeah.
Right.
If you're wanting to fly, if you're an average everyday pilot, which some people might have to swallow their pride in that, but like, if you just want to go and fly and make your dollar go as far as possible, your dollar to performance ratio go as far as possible, you should not fly the Chronos, you should not fly the Minchin frame, you should not fly the Light Switch Ultra. None of those. You should fly none of those. You should be flying something like the Typhon, like the Light Switch V2. I'm sure there's some other frames in that weight class. That extra 10 grams you're willing to accept will increase your durability like 5x. And that will thus make it'll protect your stack better. It'll protect your camera better. It'll break less arms. Sorry, I skipped the open racer, but
damn, disqualified.
Yes, I think. But some people, like, that's what the joy they find in FPV is having the lightest squad and having the fastest squad, and like, you should do it. And the people competing at the top, 100% fly. That's what you need. But if you're flying for fun or just trying to get better, or not at full throttle the entire time, that is not what you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on practicing, making a more durable quad that flies good, has quality parts on it, and just getting better. And then working towards a place where those maybe lighter frames will actually benefit you.
It's a good advice, because if you're a beginner and you can only afford 3 race quads for a season, you just can't afford to obliterate them on the practice rounds of the first event you go to. And that's what's going to happen when you're a noob. And everybody wants to be a weight watcher when they first start, because they think that those 10 or 15 grams is going to make the difference. It's not. You're going to find that between you and the leader, you're like 30 seconds behind. So, hit that middle ground with a light switch, or hit the farther ground with like an open racer. My builds are like 50, 60 grams lighter than the people at the top of the pack, but that weight is not going to save me. And unless you have the budget to bring 10 builds to really compete for those top spots, that's That's good advice. And you can get all of those things. That's what I like about you guys' shop. You sell stuff that you can start as a beginner, the middle ground, and then when you get to that elite, you can step up to the ultralights. But you just got to figure out what budget matches what you want to do.
And you also have to consider where you fly, because like you guys in your night spot,
Right.
like there's not many quads you should be taking to the night spot. You're going to destroy all your stuff.
I guess that's why we all fly open racers. But I also think the night spot isn't quite as bad as everyone thinks it is. Like concrete sounds scary, but it's very low friction. So like anytime you hit it, it just slides. Like it doesn't ever dig in, right? But like when you hit like the ground and your quad digs in, like that's when it breaks. I don't know. So like it's surprisingly now all the ends of your motors, you know, it may be a little hard to change your props afterwards, but everything's gonna fly for sure. All right.
Yeah. Come to night spot, guys.
Yeah, come to night spot for sure.
I
Next one.
need to go to the night spot.
Next one, we have a little presentation question. How do I add my presentation back? This one. Mr. Evan, how do you feel about your period of life when you were sponsored by Flight One? This is your post, and I see it says Flight One right here.
Without Flight One, 533 wouldn't exist.
Really? How is that?
Well, I guess it goes back to like the story of how 533 was started.
Thanks to Preston.
Yeah, but I mean, to go back to your original question, answer your question very directly. Flight One supported me they supported me great. I had a great partnership with them. I have a lot of respect for the things they tried to do that I honestly still to this day think were very ahead of its time as far as making it easier for people to learn or to get to set up their quads. And they made some real using presets, rate presets, like things Betaflight hasn't had until recently. There's all the politics behind it as to whatever, if you like Preston or don't, or, there's all that stuff that we don't have to get into. But from a relationship aspect, Flight One was great to me, and I have no bad things to say about them. What Armando's referring to about Flight One, that's how I met Armando. This post right here.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because I needed somebody to build quads, and then Preston was like, "Oh, I'll just find we'll find somebody."
Is my comment in there? Can you click my comment?
Yeah,
I think it was Sean. The reason, Sean.
I just went like,
so here's Sean.
Yeah,
there we go, right there.
Exactly. So
I feel like other people put like long-winded responses, and I just put an emoji.
An emoji.
Just raising your hand.
I decided to I had met Armando or whatever, but Sean was like, Sean Ames said I'd let Armando build my quads. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, well, I mean, that speaks a lot. But long story short, Armando built some of my quads back in the day because I was doing a lot of different things. I was in school at the time. I was competing in multiple different leagues with DCL and 5-inch stuff, and was always trying to have better stuff. Was racing a lot, we'll call it. Had a lot of drones and needed some help managing all of that. So Armando basically took to that. And that was kind of the start of our business relationship. And I guess the spicy answer to that, I mean, it doesn't matter now, but I think there was some agreement to where Armando would basically take 15% of all my winnings or something. Because at the time I was racing a lot for money. And any money that I made with the drone that Armando built, he would take 15% of. I guess nobody knows that. And then it came time to design a frame, and I was working with Flight One on that. And basically I went to Turkey, and that was in 2019. And I talked to Serge and Trappy from TBS, and they were basically like, what's stopping you from just making from selling your own frame or distributing your own product? Like what's stopping you from that instead of taking a cut from Flight One, And I basically was in the airport on the way back from Turkey, called Armando, was like, dude, what's stopping us from doing our own stuff? I've saved some money up from race wins and stuff like that, and was able to afford to at least meet the minimum order quantity of whatever. And, a couple $100 to start a website, started out of a cardboard box in Armando's travel, where were you, Washington D.C. or something?
I was in an Airbnb, which was somebody's basement in like Washington D.C. And I had like a 3D printer down there, and they could hear it upstairs, but we just pumped out stuff.
Yeah, but that's what it started as. It's like, and I told Preston, like, look, hey man, instead of doing something, instead of you making the thing and just giving me a percentage or whatever and calling it the heads up frame, then I think I'm going to try and do my own design with Armando and sell it on my store 533. And like, there was no harsh, no bad blood or anything. Just like, I'm going to try. I was just a kid who was just going to try something. And then I was friends with Armando, and he had good ideas with frames, and then kind of ended up being a good team, and then just got lucky with designing the frame and then going to champs and winning champs. And like, it just, a lot of things ended up getting lucky on, but arguably some could say it was a bad time to start a business because COVID happened 6 months later. So we survived all of it and have been on the up, and just at the end of the day, just aspire to wake up and make better drone parts every day.
But like, do you realize that your decision of making a frame separate from Flight 1 was also could be good, because if you decided to make a frame with Flight 1, then people probably at this point would still be waiting for that frame paid them, right? Like,
it was, that too. But didn't Serge or Trappy convince you to open up the store rather than like just sell it through a store? Or did I remember that
that's
wrong?
what you said.
Yeah, they said. Go ahead.
At the time, I remember, like, by far, Pyro was like the biggest retailer for drone racing. And and since then, from my perspective, it seems like 533 has definitely eclipsed that, or taken over like the top spot. It's just, and it hands off every few years from one to another. Do you think that they regret that decision of not realizing that you weren't just going to take a piece, you were coming for like the whole thing?
I mean, I would say it's interesting because Serge and my relationship with a lot of these stores and vendors and things has definitely evolved, because what was interesting is, I grew up being sponsored by all of these stores and all these companies, right? And then now I slowly morphed into a competitor to all of them, sometimes as a partner, like utilizing some of their services to make products and whatnot. And I would say, like, as weird as it is to talk about sometimes, that our Serge and I's relationship has definitely evolved and changed a little bit. And it's not so like, at the very beginning, I was just a kid, very harmless, and like, yeah, I should make a frame. And then it turned into where we are, competitors. And that's totally fine. There's no bad blood. And again, like I said from the very beginning, my take on business in this world, or in this small of an industry, is me winning is Serge winning, and Serge winning is me winning, and vice versa. All of us finding success helps everyone. So there's never a world where Serge isn't cheering for me and I'm not cheering for him. But yeah, I don't think it's what any of us expected, and there was no master plan or anything. Like, it literally just started as let's sell a frame here or there, and it turned into whatever. But I can assure you, even now, 533 is a tiny fraction of what the big three are doing as far as yearly
total sales
throughput. Yeah.
Oh, and who are the big three based on y'all's like market analysis?
Get FPV, Pyro, and Race Day Quads.
And then now with Get FPV and Race Day Quads under the same umbrella, right? So
yeah,
it's an interesting time.
I'm curious what's going to happen there.
It's a really interesting time.
If that combines to one, are you guys now in the third spot, or who's in the third spot now?
Are you now part of the big three?
I would, if you go off numbers alone and our interpolations of what we think and or are aware of, I would say they're still far, and they're still the big three for sure. But I would say it's a really interesting time in the drone racing retail space, because Serge, I would say, is spending less time around the business, and Andy, his son, is kind of taking over that role, which I think is a really interesting dynamic. And then, cool. Get FPV was sold a few years ago. Race Day Quads just got bought by the same people. And then those come with the problems of being purchased by a, big entity like that, like in private equity, and the problems that Get FPV has arguably seen since that happened. And, Rect is on the scene now and doing some really good stuff. So there's a lot of movement in the industry, which I find super fascinating. and just from like the business mind. And it's exciting. And I plan, and 533 and other Armando and I will call it, have ideas and aspirations to be up there someday.
So if you talk, Neil, let me ask this quick. So you talk about this big entity who bought like Get FPV and raised their quad. Now, if the same entity proposes you money, like would you sell it? Would you sell 533?
At this point, I mean, like, when a company gets sold, in my experience, or I have very little experience, we'll call it, I see it makes the most sense to me to sell a business when you're kind of out of gas, if you will. As funny as that is to say, like Tyler has, he talked about it even in his post when he sold. He was, moving on to other things in his life and other ventures. Get FPV. Tim Nilsson had kind of, started Lumineer and moved into Get FPV and like had been at it for a while and then kind of had shifted into other ventures and was able to get a great deal. But at least me personally, and I feel like Armando and I both, we have a lot of gas left in the tank, and I think we can take this way further than it is right now. So I feel like selling right now would just be cutting ourselves short so much. And if I sold 533, tomorrow, I don't know what I'd do with my time. Like that, I find so much fulfillment in doing something like this, and it really is like a kid to Armando and I that we've spent every day on for the past 4.5 years. And there's a lot left to go. And
I honestly feel like I'm doing what I love. I just like making stuff. And then, I don't know, previously, as an engineer, I was a structural engineer, and I can only work on the calculations and making sure everything was right. But I always wanted to design. And I was, growing up, I was just like artistic and everything. And I would just love drawing or making paintings or anything like that. So then whenever we started this, it just allowed me to do so much more. And I don't know, it's so fulfilling to be able to do all these things. And I don't know, just give
Mr. Phil is asking, can he buy 1% of 533?
Earlier, how much would it take to buy 1%? And the notable thing about that is if he owned 1% and each of you sold 0.5%, he would then have the deciding vote for any dispute.
Yeah. So that's the thing is like
Phil would be a good medium.
It would have to be, if I were to go into business with anyone, I got insanely lucky. With the partnership with Armando, like just as Armando said about myself, like I literally can't imagine a world where I'm in business with anybody else. So selling is not, like you said, it's not just going to be a small, like a payday or whatever. That's going to have huge implications in the future as that deciding thing. They're going to have decision making ability.
Right.
And that is not, even if I, get the payday, it's just not going to be worth it down the line if someone like myself and Armando had aspirations to take it further. Like it like as bad as it sounds to say, like, I don't think any amount of money would be worth the headache, quite honestly, if we plan to be in it for a long time.
You don't know how rich Phil is. Right. So
that's true. Well, it is though. Sometimes if you think about it, though, the growth of some companies, though, it does take the founders selling part of their company in certain instances, right, to then fund real large growth, right? And maybe this isn't the industry, at least if you're going to stay in drone racing, to really make that like a thing. But sometimes it does take founders selling portions of their company to like get the funding to take it, really, really further. Absolutely agree.
And I think 533, the beauty of it is it's in a roundabout way been like a training ground for Armando and I both in business. We've learned so much about each other, but also things in real life experience of business. And we've both grown a lot in that. And I think like Armando and I have joked for years, but I think Armando and I will be doing business together for a long time and learning along the way. And I, potentially someday there will be ventures that include some level of investment or extra parties and hands. So, but that's all far behind the scenes right now.
Okay. We'll all be waiting the 533 IPO so we can all buy in.
There you go.
Cassandra FPV says, man, these guys are so handsome. So And like Mr. Evan, you said like didn't say any like only nice things about Preston, only nice things about Serge, that there's no blood or whatever you call it. Is there anyone you have blood with? Like what the heck? Like this is disgusting, Mr. Evan.
He's like, you need
Everybody likes Evan.
You gotta kill him with kindness. I really think there's definitely people out there who maybe not be the biggest Evan fans, but it's just not. There's no reason to handle anything like that. I think a lot of people like. I don't know. It's tough, but I try and just continue to push that. Armando and I both, and me specifically, like literally care so much about the community and want to push it forward and want the best. And it can get lost in translation. I think people like to twist things, and yeah.
All right, Mr. Armando, can you please look quickly at the screen? You see the picture?
Yes, I do. That's
and now we want to bring you, after you're looking at this picture, now we want to bring you to full size. Let's see, like this. Mr. Armando, so who is a better pilot, Evan or Minchen?
Better pilot.
And you gotta look in the Evan's eyes.
Look in Evan's eyes. I don't know. I don't know. Minch, like we've seen Minchen do some incredible things, but we always miss out on Evan Turner being around.
That's true. We were robbed of that matchup in DRL so far. Maybe it'll come in the future.
Yeah, like in DRL, like we might like. I had predictions there, and I always thought Evan would take it. And like I think we saw periods where Minchen was struggling in DRL, and Evan would have kind of been a veteran at that point. So I think we would I kind of know what would have happened, but yeah, I don't know if DRL or what's going on with DRL anymore.
Yeah, Evan, what's going on with DRL? When do we get to see the next season? We were all so excited. We thought it was maybe going to be the best pilot list we'd ever see, and then we hadn't seen shit.
I've had a unique experience with DRL because I'm one of the only people who have been on both sides of the curtain of being a pilot, but then moving to the commentator position and getting to really know a lot of the execs and people that make DRL go around personally. And what I can say is that the people behind DRL are trying harder than ever to make DRL happen and to make the best pilot list possible and the most events possible. And they truly care about bringing DRL and drone racing to the main stage. There are ups and downs and all that, like any business. And I think it's relatively known that this is maybe a hard time for them, but that the people within DRL who are making those decisions there are good things in the works. And I truly believe, like if somebody came to me right now and said, we'll give you $1 million, go run a drone race, I would not take the $1 million and I would give the $1 million to DRL because I think they could do more. They could do better with that than me and anything I could possibly do. So I think the people behind DRL are incredibly smart, incredibly experienced, and they are going to keep pushing to make something happen. And it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to be a part of it as a pilot. So it's going to happen. I'll be there. There's going to be the matchup, me, Minchen, Vanover, some other pilots. It's going to happen. Timeline, I don't know, but I know I don't have any doubts that they're not going to stop trying, and it's going to happen.
I can see, I can read the question from Neil's eyes. So he's thinking like, how much DRL paid you to say that?
Yeah, right.
The answer is $0.
Unfortunately, right?
Send the invoice.
So I was at the Miami event, the finals, and I got to see everything in action. And I've never attended any drone race where I thought people would actually enjoy watching it. And it was so interesting to see like all the kids react. They had really figured out the formula to get the heats going very quickly. And in the meantime, they had all these games going on. and they had stations for the kids to make their own little posters, and then the countdown was something that all the kids could recognize. And then like we're from Houston, where we have the championship baseball team, and the DRL finals was taking place in the baseball stadium. And when you go to an Astros game, you see kids that are like 4 to 7, just kind of on mom or dad's phone, like not paying attention, but they were engaged in that race. Like DRL cracked the formula to how to make drone racing interesting for like people of all ages. The tough part is I could see they could only house like however many people were there. So they figured out more of the spectacle. Now we got to get the audience, going. But it encouraged me for professional drone racing to be on that level on some day. Like
they genuinely are really, really smart and passionate people. Like for anybody who cares anything at all about drone racing, if I had to handpick people to be in the position of essentially fighting for dollars out there, big dollars, not just little things here and there. They are really swinging for the fences, and they have a really great team behind it that genuinely gives a damn. And that I think drone racing is lucky to have that. And I feel like they've cracked the code. They have something special. It just takes time, and I think they're working on it. And I have a lot of trust in them.
Mr. Evan, or Armando, I don't know who is in charge. How many pilots you're sponsoring now? Do you have like approximate number?
I would say we have different tiers. So I handle all 533 sponsored pilots. And so basically anytime anybody comes from, whether they email, answer support, ask Armando, ask my dad, like whatever, all the different routes I've seen people try and take. It all gets funneled back to me.
What's the craziest route that you've ever gotten to? Your dad's pretty interesting, but
yeah, there've been some funny ones. There've been some funny ones.
No, tell us.
Some people have like hated us because of like.
Well, yeah, it's just okay. From a social perspective, think like this is good. So anybody who's in drone racing, I'm a big fan of. And I want to support everybody and make sure everybody's having a good time. And just because at the end of the day, people are having fun in drone races, that makes me happy. All right. So I want to be supportive of everybody, regardless of what gear you fly. Like, I don't care. But I'm friends with people, and then they're like, oh, that's great. Can I have a discount, or can I be sponsored? And it's like, it just puts me, it's very, very uncomfortable for me, because at the end of the day, I'm also in charge of running a business that if everything was free, which I'd love for everything to be free, then it just doesn't work. So what I try and always tell people is, anytime anyone asks, that they're put on a list of people that I'm gonna keep my eye out on. And I'm not just looking for the fastest pilots. I'm not just looking for the people with the most followers on Instagram. I'm looking for people who I think can represent 533 in the best light, which isn't always the fastest people. It isn't always the people with the most Instagram followers, or whatever it may be. And what gives a sponsored pilot, what gives a sponsorship value is exclusivity, right? Like, in my eyes, that if everybody was sponsored, which again, I'd love to, then you kind of lose the value of it. So I try and keep the top level. Like, that's why there's the Champions Edition jerseys for 533. That is the most exclusive club in drone racing, and most elite and exclusive club in drone racing, in my opinion. People, I think there's like 7 or 8 people on the list that all have the Champions Edition jersey, which are like the black Champions 533 jersey. And then there are other 533 team pilots that we support, and we love to do that. And then there are some other people that, again, I help out because I genuinely love what they're doing. Maybe not as much as sponsored pilots, but just because I like what they're doing and support them. So there's different tiers of it, I would say. So it's a tough answer, because I feel like we support a lot of people. But as far as actual team pilots, I would say we're in the couple dozen range. And then the Champions Edition, where pretty much the majority of things they get are free. That is in the 1 or 2 hands amount, just because it's like the exclusive.
Do you approach people sometimes for that, or it's always people approaching you?
I do approach people, and I would say people always ask me, how do you get sponsored, right? Like, what's the best way to get sponsored? And from my position, I
don't ask.
Right.
Or, like, if
we'll call you.
If you approach it as a giving question, like, I'm going to ask this, but I want to give you the following things. I would love to start, like, if you came to me and said, I would love to start doing reviews on all the 533 products. I'd love to start doing product photos. I'd love to be able to promote your gear at these races instead of, hey, I want this many batteries. I want this many props. I want this. Like, if it's a giving, like, you have to, a sponsored pilot needs to provide value. This is a business relationship.
Yes.
So you need to, if you are looking for sponsors, not just from me, but from anybody, if you come to somebody saying, here's the things that I can provide, and this could benefit you in the following ways, because you wearing a t-shirt, as much as I hate to say it, it's not gonna move the needle. I'm sorry. And although that is what some people, our relationship with some people is, if you can go out of the way to provide that extra value, that makes you wildly, wildly valuable. So that is, if I see somebody who's, without me even asking, like, reviewing 533 products, being a good ambassador of 533, I'm going to go up to them and say, hey, how can I help? How can I support? Because I would be dumb not to, because it's fantastic marketing. But if I've seen somebody like post us on their story one time and then say, hey, I just got second place at this race that I've never heard of, can you please sponsor me? Like, it's tough.
Makes sense.
Gotta bring value. Gotta build value.
All right, so everyone who watching live stream now you know how to approach Evan to ask for sponsorship.
Provide value. Yeah, for
exactly.
Anyone. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, we got $5 super chat from Mr. Ryan Qualet, and he is a biggest H0 fanboy, right? Is he bigger fanboy than Joe Mama?
He's
I don't know. Well,
lead tester
and lead tester H0, right? Yeah. He says, where will drone racing be in 3 years? What can 533 do to grow the sport in a meaningful way? This is from H0 Ambassador. And the talented racer, Mr. Ryan Qualet, talented racer.
Yeah.
Mondo, where's racing going to be in 3 years?
It's going to be more accessible. We're slowly getting there. Like, we're still not there. But I feel like there's a lot of people working on just making it easier for people to get into it. Because as much as we think it's easy to get into now, like, it's still really hard. Because as soon as, like, I meet somebody that doesn't even know what a transmitter looks like, I'm quickly reminded, like, how hard it is to just learn everything you need to know to actually, like, get a quad in the air.
Yeah. But isn't the hardest part is still to fly? Like, building a drone, all right, but like then the hardest part is to fly it. No, like just
that is the hardest part.
Like, just getting in the air is great, but then all the other stuff is so intimidating, and like it just kind of creates like this fence that it scares people away.
There's so many steps before you can fly, and when you fly, you're gonna fail. But there's so many steps before that, and there's been a few companies that have offered actual racing solutions in the past, but I don't think any of them are still around. Like Catalyst Machine Works come to mind, but they're no longer in the racing game. And so like 533 is the only ones that I know of that are offering like racing products that you can buy already built for you that you can go out and try. Because there's a lot of people that have the money, but they don't have the time to like figure out how to build, get all the stuff to solder. And so that could potentially let people at least try it.
And wrecked, Mr. Johnny 5. I think they're selling also ready to fly racing drones.
So cool. As far as where, just to barge in on that question, I have two points. And that is that drone, if you look at the entire market of FPV, everybody who flies FPV, say there's 100,000 people who fly FPV out in the world. I don't know. But say there's 100,000. I would argue that 10,000 or less race. And which makes it a niche, right? A small niche in the community. And that niche includes a lot of HD0 and a lot of analog pilots, right? And then if you want to make it more accessible, like instead of, there's two routes, so one route would be to go the education route and get more kids involved and get it in schools and stuff. And I think that's a fantastic way. to do that. And I think that's one route. But if you want to, so yeah, sure, 500,000, that's great. But if you want to attack people who already know how to fly FPV, people who already know how to build and stuff, you would make it more accessible to people who already know how to fly, which in my opinion includes HD racing, which would be like DJI and walk snail, something I'm very, very passionate about, because you're not going to have to teach those people how to buy or to build a quad. You're not going to teach them how to bind, teach them about any of that stuff. They already know. We just need to make racing more accessible to the larger majority of the FPV community that's already out there. And I think I truly believe if there were DJI races more accepted, if there weren't all these examples of DJI pilots being told not to come race or they can't get timed or whatever, there just wasn't effort being put into it. I truly believe that is a one big route to drone racing excelling. And I'm a huge ambassador of that. And I think it's something that is honest, I feel is overlooked, is that there's all these people out there who fly every day. And if they could, if they knew there was a race that they could just take their quad with DJI on it and go fly at, I guarantee the racing community would grow. And I want that to happen so bad. So that is, in 3 years, I would hope that 533 has helped run more HD races and brought more of the community to racing than ever before, just because they know they can, without having to buy all this gear and there being some hurdle they have to jump over. I want them to be able to show up, fly, have fun, no barriers. And that in itself could 5x the amount of people drone racing in the world, just with that alone, in my opinion.
I definitely agree, because from what I've seen, just making like content out there, a lot of the new FPV pilots in 2023 and 2024 are people that started out with a Mavic or a Phantom. And like, that's kind of how I started. I started with a Phantom. And after I took a bunch of videos of my neighborhood, I was like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? It's not fun. And then I found FPV, and then I found racing. But if you start off with DJI FPV and you know what that looks like, and you want to start racing, and then you see what analog looks like, you're like, I don't know if I want to spend money going that far backwards in video quality. But if I can use the same stuff, and we used to see that 3 or 4 years ago, we would see a lot of new pilots show up with DJI gear, and we figured out in the Houston area how to at least let them race. But we were flying more fun fly style, not big competitions, but we could at least let them like fly the track. And if you guys can figure out how to solve that puzzle of letting people compete, or even just have races that are maybe not so official that people can show up of, I think you'll start getting people out there.
Well, that was kind of rude from you guys, because, well, Mr. Ryan was he's a H0 tester and H0 reviewer and all that. And then, he left the super chat, and then he was answering questions. Yeah, I want to see more DJI racing.
But it will only benefit HD0 to have more pilots racing. At the end of the day,
that's true.
If there are more pilots racing, they'll realize that
And it's like the
HD0
thing-
has an advantage, and voila.
once
that
they're
is a
hooked,
bigger market
then-
for HD0 to attack.
Well, you kind of smoothed it out a little bit, so it's not that rude anymore. Thank you very much, Mr. Ryan, for your question. All right, Neil, I see you have selected something for next.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys see as like the biggest, like, what's been the biggest positive impact on sales, and like what's been an instance that's had the most negative impact on sales of 533? If you could point to any particular instances or products, maybe.
I feel like in general, whenever we're just genuine and we show that we're doing this because we love it and because we want to help people, that has honestly led to more success than anything, I feel like. And just, I feel like that is probably our biggest success.
Yeah.
What was your... Yeah, go ahead.
The biggest, and maybe this is just something that's just sour in my memory. I would say one of the biggest negatives where I felt like 533's brand was hurt the most, or at its lowest stock, we'll call it. If we look at the stock of the 533 brand, right? Was, what was it? Mayhem, after Mayhem 2022.
Is that when we ran Freedom Spec?
Yeah. There was just so much, like, maybe I just, it was like, whatever it's called, where like I was like, this is bad. And then I looked at the sales and they went down. But
Ooh.
I just like, and it was kind of by affiliation, but like there was like the whole drama, like 533's affiliation with Freedom Spec. And then there was like all this beef behind Freedom Spec and Mayhem and people running to run open class and Freedom Spec. And then there was like afterwards, there was just like all this like banter that kind of went too far, I would say. But then again, because that banter was affiliated with Freedom Spec, which was affiliated with 533, I consider that the lowest point of 533's stock as a brand. Not saying that like sales have fluctuated and whatever, but like I just felt like that is where 533's brand was hurt the most, just because it was like there was literally a divide that came from it, and I just did not like to be a part of it. And it was there was no reason it should have happened, and I personally did not like it. But I'd say on the flip side, the biggest positive I would say is just a combination of the little things. Like whenever we have months where I'm making videos, we're having reviewers do videos, we're making new products, like it's not some one big thing that makes our business go around. It's all the little things that add up. Doing consistent newsletters, doing consistent Google ads, like all of those things are really what we see the biggest gain from. But also because it's when the most passion shines through, when we're putting the most amount of time to it. And we hope to get to a point where that's just all the time. But we're always refining, learning, and pushing to be better. So we're learning along the way.
Well, I think
would you say would you guys say that just like, and in my mind, this may not be correct, but in my mind, just the introduction of Freedom Spec was a huge shift in the community, because I remember when I first started racing 2016, 2017, for a couple of years, every time you would line your quad on the blocks, you would see that blue with the orange top. You would always see those 533 motors. And then when Freedom Spec came out and 533 came out, and it may not have been around the same time, but to me it was around the same time, you saw nothing but heads up motors. And for me as a racer, it was like, well, I could buy one motor and fly two classes immediately. It was just a value, like, and then you could get bells cheap. Like, was the introduction of Freedom Spec a boost? And I know you guys weren't actually the ones behind that, but I noticed for a good year or two, it was like so many Freedom Spec motors. And you could, even at my first IO, it was like you needed a spare. Anyone has Freedom Spec heads up motors. Like,
that was definitely, both the specs, Tiny Trainer and Freedom Spec, were definitely good. They ended up, they ended up not being negative. They were great for the company as a whole, and it ended up being a way for us to further support drone racing. Those specs allowed us to put up money for Tiny Trainer races, to put up money for Freedom Spec races, and to be at the forefront of spec racing. That was a way for us to be involved in it, and then honestly dump a lot of money into those races happening. But yes, those were great things for great marketing for 533, undeniably.
Nice.
I wanted to say, thank you very much for Mr. Team for $99.00 super chat. This is this guy, he says, thanks 533 for supporting community. Ivan Grover, Mr. MBA, you're the best.
Well, so you're the best.
This is Mr. Din Drones, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it's Din.
DinDrones.com, and he's also the creator of the Octo Ferry. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's a crazy.
I remember in Costa Rica, he brought that Octo Ferry, and I still have footage. I want to put a video together at some point of Min Chan flying this Octo Ferry, and it was probably the most scared I've been in my life, because he was like line of sighting this giant thing right in front of us, and you could feel the wind just like coming off of it. I ducked behind the computer and I tried to get behind Ivan.
Dindron's also making cool, like big batteries for field charging, made of 21700 like li-ion cells. So that's pretty cool. Go ahead. So I wanted to say, yeah, thank you very much, team. I wanted to say, so I think I was one of the guys who was like a strong advocate for Freedom Spec, and I was like taking part in these online battles about Freedom Spec versus Open Class, but I just couldn't stand.
It was just so easy and fun.
So I could I was a part of why you said your 533 stocks went down, but I just couldn't handle just people out there saying that Freedom Spec doesn't bring pilots closer, like it's not closer racing. I'm like, how you can say that? And it's like people were saying it's not cheaper. Like how you can I see someone's wrong online, I can't sleep. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's what's happened with a lot of like people who were advocating for Freedom Spec and spec racing. It's just these people are wrong. We have to prove them they're wrong.
Right. And it seemed like a lot of it too was that a lot of the people that were saying that it wasn't good, I had never seen in a Freedom Spec race before. And so like that was a lot of it was like, oh no, well Freedom Spec is dumb, but like, well, you never tried it. So that was also disappointing. Or like hard to sit by quietly for.
It was.
That was 100% me, because for like a month or two, I was like, you want me to buy special motors just to fly, and you want me to buy me this like tiny battery? Like, I don't get it. This is dumb. Like, I didn't say that publicly, but like just, to you guys in person. Yeah. And then like when Evan and Chief came down and they were flying Freedom Spec, and both of them were beating me on 3S batteries when I was flying 6S. I was like, okay, let me try this out. And we liked it so much because everything was so cheap. There was like probably 5 or 6 of us that flew nothing but Freedom Spec at the night spot for like 2 years. Yeah, because it was so cheap. It actually developed that skill that I never had. I was always correcting my bad flying with just extra power. And that slower speed forced me to learn how to do lines. And it was just a benefit of like money, flight skill, like everything.
Mr. Evans, so do you blame any of us here for your dip in the stocks of 533?
No. There is no blame to be dished anywhere. I think there's just going to be ups and downs in life and in business. Like it's just part of it. And that was a dip for us. And I think as the community as a whole, like anytime there's a divide like that, it's not good for anybody. And there was a divide in the community. And I think I honestly feel like everybody's kind of settled out to see that spec racing. There's, now like Ryan was saying, there's Underground Whoop League and Street League and Freedom Spec, and like there's such a stupid divide and drama that didn't need to be there, and then you had to like one person or the other, and then by liking one side or the other, then you supported one side or the other, and it was just dumb. And now I feel like the community as a whole has kind of just decided to now, like we've all said from the beginning, kind of like you can have multiple drones and participate in multiple parts, and like it's just better for everybody. So I don't blame anyone at all. I just think it was just a down spot for the community as a whole when we were all divided. And I think now that we're all like more unionized, as weird as that sounds to say, like we're in a really great spot right now.
Well, I like to say it's like a thing that I learned in business, and I always say it over and over again, but it works in life too, that we reserve the right to get smarter every day. And like that's what happened with spec racing too, that there were a lot of people that were kind of cold on it. And then a lot more people tried it. And I think that just everyone has now seen with the way that spec has gone up, just all specs are more popular now than they were in years past, that like it is definitely good for the sport and like an exciting way to race for sure. So it's exciting.
100%.
Mr.
There also weren't a lot of like good examples
go
of like good specs before that, because a lot of people that were against running Freedom Spec or just specs in general like ran some old spec in the past and it just sucked, and then they were like, oh no, this is exactly like that. I'm not going to do that, but I feel like since we have so many good ones that work so well right now, it's just so easy for people to adopt it and actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
And now Mr. Dindron says RPM limit made a huge change. No need to buy special batteries. That's
Super
true.
big innovation.
Now it's even easier. Yeah, Mr. Evan. So between racing and filming gigs, 533, which makes the most for you?
Ooh.
So first of all, you gotta guess who this question came from. Like,
was that me?
and
Who was
Yeah,
that?
was that
yeah,
Johnny
well,
Five?
it's like, and you should remember that Mr. Johnny 5 is also Mr. MBA. So
It's from the IRS.
I don't think
Exactly. Who's asking here?
I don't think that was me, but it sounds like it would
It
be.
sounds like
If
an
it was
Yvonne
you-
question, honestly.
No,
Yvonne always
no.
wants to know how much money everybody makes. If we're talking about money.
yeah, well, I like to talk about money, but that's like because I don't even know what is gigs. Like, I wouldn't write that.
Oh, like
so.
filming gigs. I'm actually more interested in not the dollars, but in time. In a time
Right.
Well,
split.
let's see,
between-
time and money. Like,
Yeah, film racing, like filming work. So that's like Beverly Hills. We talk about Beverly Hills a bit, and then 533. Like how does that divide your income and attention?
Well, income it fluctuates like anything. I mean, with DRL, like my partnership, we'll call it, with them has developed going from a pilot to then a pilot who won, and that salary changes, and then winning X amount of races, and then also with 533, you can't, with it being a business, you can't look at it just from the monthly dollars that I take away, because there's also equity and the value of the company. So then part of the time is an investment into the future equity of the company and stuff like that. So just as far as the monthly money I pull out, it's not an exact dollar comparison. And then with filming, that has started to I've been very fortunate to get in a pretty good partnership with Beverly Hills Aerials, and has started to, in certain months it takes more of my time than others, but filming has been a great way to move. It's been beneficial to do filming for sure, and that the dollars I've been able to make in filming has allowed me to support 533 and other business ventures. So I guess, the way my finances have ended up working is all the money I make in filming, more times than not, ends up going into some venture with Armando and I. And then racing and 533 ends up being more what I live off of from a day-to-day perspective. But it all fluctuates, because sometimes, like, I was just gone for 3 weeks for filming, and that was great. But there are other times where I'm home for 2 months, and no filming, and then just working on the business. So it ends up being a great balance. And what I love about it, especially with racing too, is that it keeps it fresh all the time. I think if I just raced all the time, I get burnt out. If I just did business all the time, I'd burn out. And if I just did filming all the time, I'd burn out. So what I really like about my situation right now is it's always different. It's always something new. And I'm kind of pushing 3 different things at the same time.
That's cool.
When, for those that don't know, like, Evan was filming some major events over this past year. Like, you've done what, Formula One? Was it Super Bowl? Like, what are some of the big events that you've done as far as filming gigs?
Yeah. Formula One, World Series, NASCAR, Super Bowl, all of USFL, NFL, commercials. Like, yesterday I was with Tom Brady. There you go.
You see?
Yeah. I've gotten really, really lucky in that, just stupid lucky, and it's been great. But again, it fluctuates with how busy they are, and then that correlates to how busy I am. But the big thing is, no matter what, I'm busy. Like, if I'm home, I'm working on 533 stuff. If I'm gone, I'm filming or racing. And when I'm home, I'm back on the 533 stuff. So I try and stay busy, but I wouldn't want it any other way. Oh, X Games, yeah. Somebody said Interspace Alien.
So if you had to, like, the bigger chunk per year is probably 533, is like back to Yvonne's question.
I would say lifetime, like actual value, 533. Because again, it's not money that's extracted each month per se, but actual value, long-term value, I would argue it is most beneficial to focus on 533.
Now, the blueprint that's been set forth, that's like similar companies, right? At least to me, Catalyst Machine Works started off as racing designers. They were like, in my mind, the premier racing brand for several years, like in 2016, 2017, 2018-ish. Then there was like Pyro with the Floss years. And then you guys kind of took over after that. But Catalyst Machine Works transitioned to cinema frames, cinema builds, selling bind and flies directly to people that were going to go on set with them. And you're flying those type of rigs and you have the engineer right next to you that can do it. When is the cinema quad coming out, 533 version?
This is a very interesting question. Go ahead, Mondo.
Oh, well, I mean, we've talked about it a lot of times, but the thing, like, we could easily just pump one out, but I feel like we really just want to spend some more time on it and like just make something that's better. I feel like that's the approach we always take. Is it's not worth making unless it's actually going to change something or do something better, because we can support another company by just buying their frames and using their things and showing it to other people. But if we think there's a way to make it better or do something different, then it's worth our time. That's mostly how we approach things.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of discussed it in the previous, like, I still don't understand. Well, Johnny Five kind of explained it. Like, what do you think about you fly like a big, gigantic drone with a good, like a cool looking big camera versus you flying a GoPro 5-inch drone? Like, the picture, is it that much of a difference? Like, what the heck?
I mean, to the right person, it absolutely matters to them. Like on a big shoot, that's like, they don't want to, they want to have all their, I mean, think about it. If you're shooting like a commercial or something and all the ground camera is Komodo, then you throwing in a GoPro, it's going to look totally different, right? So if there's a lot of value in just having the Komodo on the drone and then all the cameras are the same. Now it's substantially expensive. Like if you're asking me personally, yeah, is the quality, is 10xing the value of the drone worth it? I don't know, but I just fly what I'm told, right? So it's evolved over time, and I think Komodo and those more expensive things have had their ups and downs as far as the value they hold. But if it was, I don't know, to the untrained eye, I think they're very similar. But there's 100%, that extra 1%, like anything, people pay a lot for that extra 1%.
Mm.
That's right. And like the film industry will purchase these bind and flies for however much, right? Because to us, buying a $3,000 or $4,000 drone is obscene. But to them, the Komodo itself, which is Red, makes a variety of cinema grade cameras. The Komodo is actually their small one. It's almost like their GoPro version one. And so it's very large to us. But to them, that $6,000 camera body is essentially disposable because it's so cheap compared to everything else they use. And before flying, they would strap it onto like a car or something they intended to crash because they just wanted the shot and they didn't care if it broke because it was that cheap. And so for filming, exactly like Evan said, they want that raw footage, that 8K or 6K or whatever it is, to be able to grade it to match everything else. Because even though GoPro looks really good for us, if you have a certain color palette and you're doing shot, and then boom, you have a shot that looks slightly different, it's going to like disrupt the flow of everything. And so when they're spending however many thousands of dollars an hour for,
so they just need to film everything on GoPro and then everything is the same.
I mean, that could be an option.
That would also take away from their artistic ability, I feel like, because there's so much they get just from like being able to swap lenses or use certain lenses. Like a GoPro, like, yeah, it's not going to touch what a lot of lenses can do.
Right.
Because
the ability. Yeah, go ahead, dude.
Isn't it like the same, like sorry, coming back to GoPro, isn't like GoPro these days is like 7 years ago, these professional big cameras, and like it's not, you know what I mean? Or like 7 years ago, professional big cameras were better than GoPro these days.
I think the lens,
probably
it's not on the lens, like Mondo just said. That has a lot to do.
The lens has a lot of value in itself. Just being able to change there's just things that you're gonna be able to get on a real lens constructed of all the different pieces of glass. You're never going to get on just from a GoPro. But again, my value add typically to most cinema things is the drone side, and the camera guys. Like there are camera guys at Beverly Hills Aerials who know that, like we are with drones and super nerd out about everything. They're just like that with cameras, and I love hanging out with them because they know so much about it. But that's the nice thing about going on set with them is I just worry about my stuff and making sure the drone performs, and they worry about the camera stuff.
All right, guys. So we actually ran through half of the questions, and we're already like 1.5 hours through. I think Mr. Evan is like a good politician. You know, like you ask him like, all right, Mr. Evan, who do you hate? Tell us everything, and then he has a speech for 15 minutes how much he loves everyone. But that was great. Yeah, that was great so far. So yeah, like let's just go quick through the questions because some of the questions you guys saw these questions on Facebook, and maybe some of them were sent me in private. So, so these questions from Mr. Yossam: who would win an arm wrestling match? Because let's face it, that's the real dirt people. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, between you and Evan, Mondo.
Yeah.
I just gotta carry around 2 babies all the time, so I feel like it just gives me.
So you got those like dad arms.
Yeah, that's a real thing. That's a real thing.
Armando is so jacked. It makes me so mad.
But Evan's stories are like every day him running across some bridge or like in the gym at 5 a.m.
But I'll never be able to run away. Armando picked up a 40-pound weight like 100 times a day.
That's true.
I can't compete, man.
Yeah, do you have any products? Do you have any products you regret making? This was a question from Brian Smith.
I had an answer for that.
Is it the .com 533 3S batteries?
Yeah, that would be one for sure. That'd be one. Just because it became like it definitely became like irrelevant with just like the way Freedom Spec went. But they sold. It was fine.
Just because of the way that Freedom Spec went, or because of this guy right here? Did he have anything to do with it? You guys still probably have those batteries in your warehouse because of Yvonne.
We don't still have them.
We don't still have them.
They're long gone.
Gosh,
there's been a few times people ask when they're coming back.
Yeah.
Really? They just want a new goggle battery or what?
You would not believe things people want.
They were a good weight. They were a good weight.
They were good weight. It's a good paperweight. That's about it.
Or any other products you regret making, releasing?
For a long time, or MR30 motors were not as big as I wish they would be, but I think they're gaining popularity now. But
I love it. I love it.
I love MR30.
The amount of times I've had to defend myself. Yeah. The amount of times I've had to defend myself over MR30 motors is ridiculous. And they definitely don't sell as well as normal, like whatever, like straight wire motors. But it's coming. People are coming around, I think. And I think as more beginners find 533 and see the value in that and not being as light as possible, then they'll find more popularity. But yeah.
We got Mr. Quad Dog.
Whoa!
Thanks for $99.90 super chat. Yeah, this is awesome. And as you might guess, Mr. Evans, some of the questions came from Kevin. So you should try to guess, which questions came from Kevin.
Oh yeah, and we've already asked it.
Yeah, I figured that.
Well, some of them, I think not all of them. Let me see if I can find a question from Quad Dog real quick. No, I can't. It's somewhere down the list. All right, so this is Jay Chapman. I want to know about Quad Dog Kevin Turner. There must be stories of him sneaking a rent tax in there, getting an early peek at some free 533 goodies in the shop,
or maybe running around the shop in his underwear. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, a rent tax. Did he ever have a rent tax? I see.
I would say it's actually quite the opposite. There have been times where we I'll think of a more recent one. Like we have, we carry Hobby Wing products, right? And we sold these ready to flies with Hobby Wing products in them. And we ran out of Hobby Wing things, but he had a stack of brand new Hobby Wing stuff. And I was like, Dad, we really need this, please. I don't think my dad's probably watching this and definitely going to say I haven't replaced it. I need to work on that.
I feel like I tried to give them all back, and then you needed a fleet like 2 weeks later. Like, we're gonna need all those.
One funny story about my dad that I don't think he knows is Jake hates when my dad would come down there and fart when he's working. And I remember my dad being like, man, Miss Julie must have cooked up something crazy tonight, because my dad would go downstairs and just rip one. And poor Jake was trying to work, and he would text me, like, because sometimes he's there when I'm not, or like Jake's just one of the guys in 533. Be like, yep, Kevin must have had something crazy for dinner, boys. It smells like crazy in here. And apparently, yeah, Jake has a sensitive nose or something. I don't know, but
he's never done that to me.
Well, Jake and Nick both.
Because you didn't earn the respect yet.
Yeah, come on, Jake.
I've heard it from both Jake and Nick. Jake and Nick have both talked about my dad's farts. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So that was.
Who empties the trash in the 533 store?
Griffin.
Ooh,
Griffin. He's Griffin now.
He did it today. Actually, Andy. He's great. Yeah.
Then why this question came from Kevin?
Yeah.
Oh, because sometimes he has.
Okay. Yeah.
But Griffin emptied it today, Dad. Griffin emptied it today, and he did last Friday too.
All right.
Mom me up and up.
Mr. Quad Dog, tell us in the chat, like, what is true here today? What is not?
Who actually emptied out the trash?
I watched Griffin do it.
Oh, we got Dindrons also. Like, why you have 2 Dindrons in the chat? All right, let's see. It was like, who would win a build race? And this is from Amari. Evan or Armando?
Yeah, Armando for sure.
How many quads have you built since we've been on the stream?
Yeah, since we started the stream.
I'm just on the second one. I'm taking my time on these.
All right. I could not build a single quad that fast, so I will just say that for the record.
Yeah, for me it usually takes. Evan, how long it takes you to build a quad if you have to? And when was the last time you built a quad?
I built a quad. Yeah, I have not built many quads recently, which I'm very lucky to say that. But if I think I could totally get one in the air, 100%. I don't. I could get one in the air, and I built a lot of drones in my life. But recently I've been more flying, and just my value add is typically not building drones. So I let the people who are good at that do that, and then I focus on things I'm good at, and that is definitely not building drones.
There you go. There you have it.
Let's talk about the build race, though. So, a little bit. You talked about the build race. Tell us about the build race and who would win that race.
Okay. Oh, between me and Armando?
Yeah. Well, tell us what it is, and then you can give us your prediction.
Well, Armando would definitely win, 100%. I would probably blow mine up. When I did build my quads, I used to have a rule that I wasn't allowed to build past midnight because my failure rate was just way higher, and I would blow everything up.
I had a similar rule. It's like Gremlins. You can't do anything after midnight, and especially don't come home and build after happy hour or after going to the bar. Everything will burn.
That's funny. But I really want to do a build race at I.O., and it was on some Facebook thread at one point. But race in my head, me and Ryan Quellet talked about it and a few other people, but what if there was a race and I can convince all these manufacturers to sell parts at their cost, and then we have to multi-GP or something, and then multi-GP has $150 build race ticket to where you get the drone, you get all the parts to build a drone, but it comes in a sealed box. There's a list of approved tools, and then you say 3, 2, 1, go, and then you have to build the drone and then complete 20 laps on a track. And you have which means you have to swap your own batteries and stuff, which I just think would be funny. And And I just think it'd be so cool. And it would level the playing field. And there'd be like fast builders may beat the guys who are faster pilots. And there would be just funny ways. Like, I think it'd be super cool. And I think it'd be a great way for all these partners that Multi-GP has, like 533 and Hobby Wing and whoever else, to then promote their own products and then make a really fun, like, a mini game for IO. And then you walk away, even if you get dead last, you get a brand new quad for $150. Like, I think that'd be amazing.
I like it. So, Mondo, who's winning that race?
I don't know, but now that he's talking about it, I feel like a Whoop would be the exact thing you want to use to do that. Because sometimes people build stuff and it freaks out, and it could be pretty dangerous. But if everybody built one of these, I think that could work. And I could build one of these in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're a monster.
Is that a 533 Whoop bind and fly?
It is. Yours is going to be shipping out Monday.
Is it the one that?
Is it mine? Where's mine?
Is it the one that Johnny 5 was waiting for a month already?
No, it's not. It's only like a couple of weeks.
It is. Well, that was actually because of an oversight. Because I found those not too long ago, and I was like, "What happened here?" But it was we switched to a different system of tracking builds, and in that transition, we lost like 5 people's builds, including Kevin Turner's.
Sorry, Dad.
He brought it to light. He's like, "Why? Where's mine?" And I'm like, let me go look where that is." And it wasn't on the system that tells us, and we're like sending automatic updates to everybody, but it was on ShipStation. And then we're just like, okay, we need to fix this. So yeah, no, yours is getting pumped out.
So for those that don't know, 533 is now offering a race Whoop build option, and I love flying Whoops. I've never been to a Whoop race. And according to all of the hardcore Whoop races that I talked to, like a Mobula 6, just not going to cut it. You need a Whoop racing build.
It feels like cheating.
For me, there's just no way I'm going to bring myself to like solder all the tiny wires to like build a racing Whoop. And I've just never done it for the last however many years. And like as soon as 523 offered the service, I bought one. So if you are like me and like you don't want to build those tiny little wires for a racing Whoop, but you want to win all those Whoop racing dollars, like now's your chance. Go buy one from them. Like, I'm so glad you guys have done this, because I've literally just been like, if I was going to go to a race, I'll just bring my Mobula 6, and all of the like EDOC and Chet Mack and all the racing Whoop people that I know are like, you can't show up with that. It's a piece of crap. And I'm just like, well, I'm not building one. So thank you to you guys for doing that.
Yeah, no problem. It's not fun to build, I can tell you that. But I did make this like little 3D printed jig, and that's how I can build them so fast. Is like all the little parts have a little place, and I just hurry up and I solder every little joint, and then it goes into the frame, and it makes it so easy.
Nice.
All right, guys, let's go to serious stuff, right?
Do it.
So when the caramels will be back in stock, 533 ones.
We had a few issues with them too.
We did have issues.
Like sometimes people would go get their box and it's just destroyed by ants. Yeah, and they're just like, "Thanks for the ants." We can fix that. Like,
I need to cover her phone number, but that. So I have. This is her. Her name's Yvonne. She's amazing, and we're gonna text her right now.
Yeah.
Actually, it's 10:30 at night. I'm gonna text her tomorrow morning, and they will be featured. And we'll figure out a way to prevent the ants.
And we need to find a way to prevent my kids from eating them. Every time they're in the shop, my kids know where the fridge is, and then I'm just like, "That's like the 4th one," and then Cam's just like,
"Nope." I see them sucking on them. They like them cold. They're just they love them. They're bad.
What's the worst part in running 533? Mr. Armando.
But like, I think customer support would always get to me whenever there's like people that just like treat you like you aren't trying or like you aren't a person. Yeah, that was really the only thing that's ever got to me, is just like the way some people will treat you when like if you make an honest mistake and you're trying your best, and we're learning every day. But yeah, that was probably the only part that I did like at first, but we've gotten better at it.
That's cool. Mr. Evan, what about you?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's a very personal business, and Armando and I's image is attached very closely to it. So there are times when, like, the customer service and things, they can go too far. And what what needs to be known is 533 is trying our best. Like we're trying our best, and Armando and I, like this is our lives. So it can hurt sometimes when somebody doesn't realize that. And I'm not going to say by any means 533 is perfect. And there are times when I understand when people are upset and all that stuff, but sometimes it can hurt for sure. So we try our best 100% and we try and get better. And that's all that we can ever give. And if people are upset, then people are upset. And as long as they know we're trying, then, so be it. But other than that, like it is literally the dream for Armando and I both. We love doing it. I wouldn't want to work with anyone else other than Armando and the people we have at 533. Like it's the dream. So if that's the worst thing, then like cry me a river.
Nice.
Well, Mr. Dindron says 533 should do better though.
If you go,
and then he laughs.
If you go on 533's website right now and go to the customer support page, it is my cell phone number. You can try it and it'll ring my phone right now. So that was
guys, send him a question through 533 store.
Now, and for any of you ladies out there, he already said he's taken, so don't use that channel in order to try to pick
Mr.
Evan up.
Yeah.
What do your analytics say, like in terms of how many females watch your live streams?
0.
Really?
I think 1 or 2. Yeah, we had 1 or 2.
I'm just
it's both of our wives.
Who's Johnny talking to?
Yeah,
it's
that's
Yvonne's
true.
wife and my wife.
Yeah.
Your live streams are a sausage fest. My channel has 1% females, so
Winning.
John,
you got to step up to this game.
Yeah.
All right, so Mr. Evan, we have a question from Anonymous. And again, sometimes when I say Anonymous, it means question from me, but that's an actual Anonymous. Why 533 not sponsoring Freedom Spec events? For example, there was VRL Freedom Spec Week recently.
They do, don't they?
I was never, contacted. Like, I would say anything Freedom Spec related for the most part, we try and support in any way as long as people reach out.
All right, so people didn't reach out. There we go.
Yeah. I
right.
mean,
So like Evan can't read your mind, and I've personally been to multiple races that were 533 sponsored. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, me too. Oh well, maybe that's why.
Every race. We can't.
Maybe
sponsor
that's
every
why.
Race.
Yeah, and even
maybe
if
that's why
like,
someone
if we don't throw
added
money
to.
at it, we offer help. Like, just because there's a lot of times when there's a Freedom Spec race and we'll just give them a coupon code so that they can get more pilots. Because sometimes pilots are like, I don't want to buy a bunch of new gear. And we're like, well, we'll make it super cheap for you.
Yeah.
Because we think it's worth trying.
Yeah.
When $12 motors are in stock?
When what?
$12 motors are in stock. When?
They don't exist anymore.
They don't exist. That was literally like a mistake. Those $12 motors, we had the original, because I remember Avon. There's probably messages in our chat of like Avon being like, C-Clip, I hate them, go die.
I did. Exactly.
So then I listened to Avon and brought Avon had the first motor, or the first motors with the screws at IO. I gave them to you, I remember. And Avon was so happy. But then we had like, our manufacturer had preemptively like made all these motors in advance. Like he had made them faster than we were buying them, just so that we could have faster turnaround times. So then he just had them sitting, and then we switched the screws, and then he's had all these motors sit already built and all this stuff. And then he's like, "I will sell you these as cheap as possible just to get them out of here, so that it's not lost money to him." And that is where the no brand motors came from. So it like, it's pretty much. Like when we were not lying, and like that it was truly like we just had leftover stock from the manufacturer and we got a great deal on them, and then just instead of just taking the money and running with it, we passed it down straight to the customer, and they benefited with $12 motors.
I don't know. We've all seen a picture of Mondo standing with your wife's money. Like we've all seen that. So, I don't know. Sure.
I think I have some right here, actually.
Yeah, that was nice. And if you snooze, you lose. If you didn't jump on those $12 motors, that's on you.
Some people bought so many, and they are lucky. Yeah.
I can't wait for these motors to arrive. Look at these.
Oh, yeah, that's actually why these are here.
Oh, shit, pilot.
Amari wants me to make him some Amari motors with the no brands he had, which is
that's cool.
And then those look great. Like I ran it twice so that it would bronze it, and then it looks a lot closer to your like Shit Pilot logo.
Oh, nice.
That is sweet.
Yeah, those are dope. I can't wait to get those in.
Yeah. So, Mr. Armando, why shipping delivery so slow for 533? You made them in the morning and they're not still here. Like they're still not here. Like unacceptable.
We could be building along with you. Build party.
We have tried to look for a space closer to a hub just so that we could get it to people faster, and we're working on that.
Why everything is sold out at 533? Well, I guess it's exaggeration, but you know what the guy was asking about.
I mean, right now it's
Was that
Chinese
Kevin
New
Turner?
Year. No,
True.
So we're just coming off Chinese New Year, so for 533, like we're a small company, right? So like for 533 to carry as many products as we do, we can't afford to have these big inventory numbers like the big three. So it's like this back and forth of trying to bring in more products, but also keep inventory of all them. So we're getting better at them, and we actually in the past like 2 months just purchased or started using a inventory planning service that'll basically look at the stock. It knows the lead time of everything. It knows that has like all their contact information already, and it'll look at how the sales of everything go up and down, and it'll tell us when we need to buy, how much we need to buy based off that, when things need to go on sale. Like it's really cool. So in the next few months, Chinese New Year is an exception just because right now we can't buy, or we weren't able to buy anything this whole past month. But this year, 533's inventory precision should be better than ever, because it doesn't make sense for me to just buy like a bajillion motors and have them in stock all the time, because that's wasted dollars just sitting on the shelf.
We could have more things on the shelf.
Yeah, it's this surgical thing that takes practice, and honestly, we've sucked at for years in the past, but have invested in something in this service to hopefully improve a lot going forward.
And looks like Alien's asking where you can get your shit pilot file. We actually added a list of files to the, I guess, the customizable motors. And then if you just click the drive folder there's a shit pilot logo, there's a Street League logo, HD0. You can support your favorite brands. And if there's any other brand you'd like to put on a motor, just let us know and we'll contact that person and make sure they're okay with us putting it on there. Because that's, but yeah, Street League, shit pilot, HD0 all said, yeah, if people want to support us, go ahead, put it on the motor. So yeah, like if you don't have your own logo and you want to be able to just slap it on the motor, just to have a sweet looking motor like that one, then just click the link and there's some in there. Is it clickable?
There we go. Yeah, it is clickable.
Oh, okay. I saw you highlight it. Oh,
yeah, it works. Yeah.
Yeah, I used it yesterday, so there we go. It's there. So, do you have any like cool products coming up in the near future, or is it all secret?
Yeah, Lewis Tucker asked that one. What's the next one to drain his wallet?
Yep.
I would say what is 533 has invested a lot recently in in-house manufacturing, and you're starting to see things like that with like the in-house motor, or like motors being customizable. I would say there will be benefits of that investment. What is your camera doing, Armando?
He's working hard.
I need to make
I
it
was
stop.
looking for you.
I was talking with my hands, and when I do that, it's just like.
There'll be benefits of that in the future. And I don't know, we like to make cool things. So there's like the Tiny Trainer came from that wasn't like this ultimate high performing thing. It was just something fun. So I think things like that are going to more things like that. Like Whoops are kind of what I'm excited about right now. So I'd love to make more Whoop products. And then Tiny Trainer HDs, more HD focused things. I don't know. We're always brainstorming. Like literally anytime Armando and I spend time together, it's a big brainstorm, and it's like something fun always comes out of it.
So is fired. Armando is fired for his moving camera. So for Armando and Evan, if you could pick only one spec class, what would that be, and why?
Ooh.
Mondo, you first.
I love Tiny Trainers. I don't know. I'm a Tiny Trainer nerd over here. But yeah, I just love the little quads. But that's just because I fly them all the time.
Yep.
If right this second, if I wanted to fly one spec for the rest of the time and think about having the most pilots involved, HD 3.5-inch spec, in my opinion. I
It's
think
so fun.
I want to try that. I do want to
you
try
got
that.
to. You have to.
Yeah.
I think if everybody had to pick one, then there would be the people who do Freedom Spec or whatever, and they can have fun with their 20-something pilots. I think over time there will be HD races that'll have more people involved than ever.
What motor size are you guys using on that 3.5 inch?
It's like an 1804 3100 kV. Yeah, Mondo's building one right now.
I've built 3 of them, or I'm on number 3.
For the racing guys out there that have never tried 3.5 inch, like they've been buying flies with 3.5 inch for a while, and for some reason, 3.5 inch is a really sweet spot. It's like a big jump up above 3 inch, and for some reason, like the weight to thrust ratio, it almost feels nicer than like 4 inch.
It's awesome. I don't know what it is.
Watching Evan rip it on 4S is nuts. And he's the first thing he said when he put a 4S on this thing, he's like, I think I'm going to fly this at Ice Storm.
I think that'd be sick. I swear.
All right.
I think in 5
get me one. Send me one.
Oh yeah, we need to work on that. But I think in 5, I think for the the Tiny Trainer HD on 3.5 inch could compete with 5 inch quads all day on 4S. I really think so.
Really?
I'm not 100% official, but like at Ice Storm, I'm gonna fly the 5 inch class, and I'm thinking about flying the 3.5 inch quad on 4S.
Yeah, in that environment, I really think you could have something there because it's so quick. I saw so many people being overpowered, just like running into walls or gates because they were just too fast.
I don't think I would win, but I think I could get pretty far. I think it'd be interesting.
I mean, last year...
Dindron says, sorry, Ramon. So Dindron says X-Class, but I disagree because Dindron's Mr. Team, he broke X-Class with his 8 motors. So,
yeah, he kind of killed it.
But it's way safer with Din's quad. Like real X-Class is terrifying. So scary.
Yeah. So Mr. Evan just said that your X-Class, Mr. Team, is not real.
What?
Well, you said real X-Class is terrifying. So if there is a real X-Class, then there is not real X-Class.
Well, I think the Octo Fairy is faster, though, isn't it?
It's way faster.
It's way faster.
Yeah, was it faster in a straight line? I just remember it being more nimble in the corners. Like it could just slow itself down way faster. And
maybe that's
less scary. Yeah. It's less scary for sure.
It flies like a 5 inch. Like I've flown one, it was insane. Like it flies so good, and it fit. Like what was cool, but like it basically like broke the spec, I guess, because like it is technically to all the rules, it is X class, and it's just like better, 100%, and it dominated when X class was the thing.
Yeah, Mr. Johnny 5, I think can you I think it was your question, but I'm not sure. At least it sounds like a question from Mr. MBA. It's a question 39 on the second page.
All right, let's do it. Question number 39. Okay, I don't think this was mine, but I'm going for it. So what is your stance towards intellectual property? How do you protect yours? How do you feel about borrowing from others and ripsticks, ARM designs? If you can imagine all that's ever been contributed to the drone world, in your opinion, has 533 produced a net gain or a net neutral total design contribution weighed against what has been borrowed or adapted from others? You need to think on the word. Okay, so that's just comments on how to ask the question. I didn't ask this one, but this is a good question. So like, do you feel like 533 has a net positive, and do you feel like you guys have ever been ripped off in either ARM design or ripsticks or any of the other things you guys have put forward?
Yeah, why did they bring ripsticks? Like, what's the deal?
I would say overall, I would argue that 533 is net positive with the
contributions.
100%. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Tiny Trainer HD, the bringing on the wiggle plate, like bringing like the specs, the all kinds
right
of stuff.
Here.
Now,
let me see.
Like even in our latest designs, we always try something different. Like and that's what I'm saying. Like we don't want to release something unless it does something better or something different.
Yeah. The like whole ripstick like debacle.
There's so much missing.
It's whatever. And like
I don't know much about that. What happened? Did they accuse you guys, or you guys accuse them?
So the long story short, we'll say, is they back it up even further. There have been 3D printed stick-ins for a long time, publicly available and so forth. And then there was the announcement of the first one I saw was thumb grippies, and thumb grippies started using what's the 3D printer called, like SLA,
a resin printer.
Yep. Resin printer.
Yep.
Resin printed stick-ins. And as far as like the IP of it, like it's a design and 3D printed. Like nobody invented the turtle fin, nobody invented the 3D printed camera mount, whatever. And so Five33, like and Armando wanted to make our own stick-ins that we felt tailored towards what we like and improve them in various ways. And again, like there in no world is there a place where I think if we come up like with some certain product, we should be the only person who makes that product, and competition makes all of us better, makes all the stick-ins better. It makes just, again, competition breeds innovation. So there was obviously that's like a big thing, but now there's everyone under the sun is making their own stick-ins, and it's a way for us all to express ourselves. And the more options that are out there, the more people that are going to have stick-ins that are better tailored towards what they like. But props to Thumb Grippies for doing that out of the gate and coming up with a really great thing, and has honestly been very successful. So props to them, and I wish the best to all the people doing stick-ins.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a nice thing coming out, and I remember you guys were very responsive, because I remember me and Joe Mama were like, you know what, I really wish I had something that was like similar to like the TBS had like a certain shape, and it was like, I wish I had this, but it was like grippy with knobs all over it, and like Mondo modeled it up, and I think you guys actually marketed it, but it wasn't like he designed everything from the ground up. And like, you got to remember, guys, like none of these things are patented. A shape is not a patent. And so when everyone's thinking of like cloning or intellectual property, it doesn't apply to these things. Like a shape is not a machine. It's not a computer. And if somebody takes a general design and adds to it and enhances it, like, to me, that's not cloning. And
no, it's not. And it's like all t-shirts, like when somebody makes a boxy t-shirt or whatever that's in style, like the guy next door makes a boxy t-shirt, and you can choose to buy it based off the brand, based off this one has a pocket and this one doesn't have a pocket. This one is a little bit longer. This one has shorter sleeves. Like, dude, like I see all of the like if you generalize products like that, then we might as well be t-shirts in the same vein. And t-shirts have gotten better because people have made them and then slowly gotten better and figured out what niche they want to contribute towards. So there's drama and people love it, but at the end of the day, like, dude,
I kind of
about drama, and I mean,
I kind of like drama a little bit, but I was torching you a little bit about the frames at the beginning. But from my point of view, I gotta say that, like, especially like the carbon piece of frame, like, it's just so simple to just see what's happening and draw by yourself something like that or a little bit different. Like the carbon is just so easy. I don't think there's any intellectual property there. Like, you kind of figure out a little bit improvement, that is just how all we move. Like,
and especially once you're getting down to like 50 grams and you're holding 4 motors, and the stack is a certain size, it's just like, what are you gonna make? What holes are you gonna cut in this thing?
Yeah, basically? And I kind of comically put at the beginning these 2 frames back to back, but like all of the frames, they look the same. There's like you show like 2 frames to a person, and he'll be like, yeah, they're the same, but well, they're different frames. But it's just 4 arms, mount for motors, like screws for stack, and a couple of differences here and there. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. So I think I was bad cop today. Like I should have
You were
been
just
worse
doing your
cop
thing.
today.
You were doing your thing.
We still love you. Well, guys, I think it's been really awesome to have y'all on. It's evident that the work that y'all have done in the community, like the work you've done with 533, has built the community as a whole, and we very much appreciate that what y'all have done, you know, to help grow the sport, right? Because it's a sport that we love, and that's what we're all here for. So, thank you guys very much for that. It's been really cool having you on for sure. And
yeah, guy, thank you a lot. That was awesome. And Neil says it's a sport. Well, like I believe for him it's also a life. Like this is a big part of life, not just a sport. And you guys supporting it, doing something innovative there. I think this is awesome. Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
This is Mr. Evan. All right, guys, we're closing it. Right, we didn't miss any super chats. And yeah, thank you very much, guys, for who joined the fun today. I hope it was fun. I know it was fun. If it wasn't fun, then get the fuck out of here.
And like, can I take a quick second just to highlight that in FPV in general, we see a lot of frames, a lot of products, a lot of everything coming out, and we see a lot of famous pilots, but we don't always see a lot of famous engineers. And I would just want to highlight the fact that Mondo is the engineer behind all the 533 designs and frames. And I just think it's a fantastic, thing that we can all acknowledge his presence, because I don't know who designed like a lot of the frames along the way. And I think it's great that we know who's behind all those designs and who's behind all those hours and who's behind all those design decisions. And just the fact that we have an actual engineer designing these things, like I can see a stark difference between before and after and throughout the entire hobby. So thanks to Mondo for bringing that expertise to all of us.
You're making me blush. You're making me blush.
Look at that.
He's the best.
There we go.
And he knows that because his face is not even red. Like he knows it. He's like, yeah, I'm the best. That's it. Like,
You're not the best.
Thanks for saying that, but I don't care. All right, guys. Yeah, this is it.
Oh, yeah.
See you in the next live stream, or maybe even in the video if I'm not lazy.
Oh, you're lazy. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, yeah. See ya.
See ya.